to People of Space series by Astronomy, where we shine a light on the inspiring stories of individuals shaping the future of space and astronomy.
Inspire the world, a brand new face. Welcome to the people of space.
At Astronomy, we are dedicated to promoting awareness about astronomy and making the space accessible to everyone. I'm Shweta, your host for this episode, and today we have a truly remarkable guest with us, Yana Yakushina. Yana is a lawyer, researcher, educator, and a fierce advocate for dark sky protection. From her work with organizations like Dark Sky International and the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs to pursuing a PhD at the University of Ghent, Yana has dedicated her career to connecting the dots between space law and environmental advocacy.
Hi, thank you, Sveta, for having me here. It's a great pleasure, and I hope I will be a good contributor to your initiative.
Of course, to our listeners and viewers, I'd like you to stick until the end of this episode because we are going to get into some amazing, quirky questions that Yana is going to answer for us. And you wouldn't want to miss her advice on how you can chart your path for a career in this field. So let's get into it, Yana. My first question to you would be if you had to describe your journey and your work in one word, what would you call it?
Remarkable. Because it's been a long path and it had its upside downs. But I think I was the one witnessing the development of the legal policy part of dark and quiet skies protection. So it was really interesting. Remarkable and interesting. This would be the word.
Absolutely. You are remarkable. I've only met you in person once, but I've heard a lot of talks that you were giving in different conferences. And I think it's really important what you do. And we need definitely like more people to get into this field and protect our skies and our space. But you wear like many hats. You're a lawyer, you're a researcher, you're an educator. What's the common thread that ties your passion for dark skies to your legal expertise in space law?
I mean, everything what I do is actually about reducing light pollution from the different aspects of it. So, as a lawyer, I'm shaping the legal and policy framework for dark sky protection and light pollution mitigation. As a researcher, I'm basically, again, analyzing the legal norms, regulations, and the policy aspects, and also dig into other normal disciplines, not only legal, to understand how things working. And then as an educator, I just try to talk to different people, different stakeholders, from policymakers to industry and normal citizens about the problem of light pollution and the need of the protection of nocturnal environments. So basically, it's all about the same things here.
Yeah, but like it's such a different, career line. When people think of lawyer, actually, a lot of people do not even know that, like the concept of protecting the dark skies, why it is important, and how does it interact with global space law. And I myself also was quite new to the concept. And when I started going for stargazing and I realized how light pollution is increasing and all these things, I started to understand more. So, can you like explain to our listeners and viewers like what is it? Like how does this tie together and what exactly it is that you do?
I mean, we should start with understanding that light pollution is a very broad problem, covering different aspects of our life, like culture, indigenous people's rights, human rights, environmental protection, astronomy, and so on and so forth, right? And then law as a concept was basically created to help people regulate or address certain issues, right? So what I'm doing, and some countries are doing already, they're developing special light pollution laws or introducing measures to kind of protect the dark and quiet skies or generally nocturnal environments. So yeah, we can use the legal constructs, like we have the concept of the protection of the environment and the whole environmental law, right, which consists different norms like the protection of habitats, like we restrict the use of the certain activities or we reduce the amount of light in the context of light pollution. So this is how law is perfectly shaping. Also, we have urban planning, right? And the urban planning documents, they have consideration of lighting, And most of the time there's only minimum amount of light which we could have. And what I'm trying to do together with amazing colleagues of mine, we're trying to put the maximum amount of levels of light, right? We're trying to introduce new norms, new regulatory aspects to the existing frameworks. And in some cases we're also thinking of developing something new, like the questions of the protection of dark and quiet skies in the space law is a completely new concept, because the global space framework consists only 5 international space law agreements, which I may say don't cover a lot of many issues. So we have to think about what can be done more. I hope it briefly answers the connectivity between law and the dark skies here.
Yeah, it does. And it's like such a niche thing that you are doing, and you seem quite passionate about it. I mean, without your passion, you wouldn't have been doing like so much work in this, you know? So I wanted to ask you, like, was there like a light bulb moment for you? Pun intended, of course. Was there like a moment that got you into this? Like, what inspired you? What made you choose this as a career?
I have a very interesting path in general. Like my great grandfather was a space engineer, and he was one involved in the development of first rockets and the space objects of the USSR. Like he was involved in development of rocket for Gagarin, but I actually never met him in person. He died before I was born. But then I started studying in a law school, and I chose the path of the real estate and environmental aspect. We also were being taught space law aspect as well. And I was like, yeah, what is this? Like, does it even exist? And then when it came to my PhD, I chose Ghent University to do my PhD. And at the beginning, I was thinking of doing the comparison analysis of the legal system related to urban planning, but it was super broad. And it was very difficult for me to choose any specific subject. So there was a lighting bulb moment for me. So I moved to Ghent from the very big city. I'm from Moscow. And then I moved to Ghent, where everything is closed at 5, 7 p.m. And you walk here in the little cities, which is a very beautiful town, right? But the lights were everywhere on, even though the shops were closed and stuff. So I was like, that's weird, because in Moscow, like, I understand everything works 24/7. So it makes sense, and the lights are on and stuff, and the safety, big city. But why is the case in Ghent? So I started Googling whether too much light is actually an issue. It's been around 5.5 years ago. And then I started to come across there is a lot of scientific research around it. Astronomers have like put light pollution as an issue for a long time already, but there was nothing at that time related to, not that much, I may say. There was some minor aspects, but very, very small in the very areas mostly where astronomers were super active, right? So I was like, maybe I should be the first lawyer doing that stuff. So I started contacting people who were already involved in dark sky protection and light pollution. They were mostly lighting engineers or astronomers or like whatever science experts. And then I started gathering the general understanding what are the issues. And with my knowledge of the legal background, I actually try to like match it all together, how the legal aspect can help them, all these people already aware of light pollution, to work towards the mitigation. And also, of course, I also got involved to help to spread the words about light pollution as an issue. So the the light bulb moment for me was when I moved here and walking through the little cities, overlead cities. I was like, yeah, we should do something about it.
But has it changed at all in like last 5.5 years?
I mean, it's changed a lot because you can see more and more legal experts and policy experts started to get involved. Light pollution subjects became a very growing concern, not on the normal natural sciences, or it became a concern in humanities. So you can see more and more countries started to adopt light pollution legislation. It even became a concern in the space sector, which is super cool. I think it's also very recent. I mean, in the high political level. So I see the changes. I see the growing interest, not only from the normal science. I'm sorry to saying that, but I don't really consider law as a normal science. For me, it's a more practical thing. But yeah, so you see the growth. You see the that different groups started to unite together, started to build the dialogue, and you see already the changes and the regulations as well, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, and like biggest role in all of this, like the organizations' names that I have heard and you're working with is the Dark Sky International and United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. And you've been working with people there, you've connected with a lot of people, and in just 5.5 years, like you're really like leading a lot of change and bringing a lot of new policies. And I'm reading your new research papers and everything. So you must have like some amazing experience that left like a lasting impression on you. Would you like to share a couple of them or one?
I think the experiences are the first and the biggest the best part of my job is actually people. Like I used to work in legal firms and you're just working with lawyers and it's client oriented as a consulting. And now I'm still doing consulting job basically, right? I'm talking about the subject and consult people about the regulatory aspects of dark and quiet skies. But the best part of my job is to meet people from around the world, like you, for example. It was amazing experience. We all do different things in the different areas of the world, and we can discuss the topic of my passion, which is light pollution, obviously, from this different cultural background, scientific background. So people inspire me to further do the work, and by meeting people, we engage into more projects. So it's super cool because it's like the work keeps rolling and we keep getting more projects because the subject of light pollution is growing. And the second, I think, the best also part of my job is that I travel to the unique places of the world on the conferences like New Zealand. It was amazing experience to enjoy the beautiful dark skies. It's also in the middle of nowhere for me because like it's super far. I traveled there 36 hours one way, like, but like, this is the best part of the job. And also, I was in La Palma in Canary Islands. I never experienced the sky like that. And then you see people from the conference. It was more than 100 people there in La Palma in the International Astronomical Union gathering, and different ages from like people who just graduated from school or like old astronomers, guys, all looking at the skies and like everybody are silent, everybody enjoying it. So I really think it's very great job to be. It's always super inspiring by experiences, different travels, different cultural experience, but also people. And people are super passionate in our field. So I think these two, very broad, not very specific, but these two are the best experiences of my job.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Like, it's so cool that you get to travel so much while you're doing your PhD and you're working on the projects that you're passionate about, you're proud about. So, tell me a little bit about how your education, like your PhD, your research and everything, and like around light pollution as how is it like affecting each other? How does it fit together? The work and the PhD, like your Plan B project at the university. Tell us a little bit about that.
Again, like it's all everything what I'm doing is like in the same framework, which I'm very lucky about. Like, I made my hobby and passion my job. So my PhD, I'm developing a regulatory framework for light pollution as an environmental concern, because again, light in the end of the day, it's broader than that. But basically, I'm trying to write why and how we should regulate light pollution. This is what I'm doing for my PhD and for Plan B project. So Plan B project started last year, January. So we are in for 1 year now. Plan B is focusing on better understanding of light and noise pollution and impacts on terrestrial biodiversity and ecosystem services. And we also propose the solutions for that. So the project is, I serve as one of the scientific coordinators of the project. We have more, I think, 12 partners, mostly from Europe, but we also have colleagues from Brazil as well. So I will not go into very depth, but we have three main aspects of work. First, we're developing, it's going to be an open database of knowledge on light and noise pollution impacts on terrestrial biodiversity. So you can it's a compilation of different articles existing to identify what species are impacted and how. So this database obviously is interesting for researchers, but also for policymakers, basically, ideally, in ideal world, uh, local governments and the governments will look into that when they're doing due diligence and environmental impact assessment to see whether in the specific territory this light or noise aspect would be also impacting like the ecosystem, right? The second part of the project is analyzing what are the current solutions for light and noise pollution mitigations, and we will also propose the innovative solutions as well. We are not focusing only on technical parts. Yeah, like we all know, especially people who are in the field, that you should direct light in a certain direction, you should use a certain color, wavelength, and so on. But we're also talking about the social solutions. So how do we communicate to people and what actually people should do? We also do the regulatory analysis, right? So we are talking to policymakers like by June 2025, we will be releasing a light pollution policy brief for the European Commission, explaining again why and how, and based on what they have to regulate the aspects of light pollution. Then we also have aspects of urban planning. Here we have some experts related to, yeah, all the planning situation and how it can help to reduce the impacts of light and noise pollution. And we also have biological aspects of solutions. Here we're talking about from the more nature point of view. We have an expert, his name is Dan Nielsen, he's part in our project. He has a unique lab in Sweden, and they're analyzing how actually species perceive artificial light at night. So he's looking not from our human perspective like we normally do, but also from the species perspective. And the third part is like, yeah, communication, engagement of different stakeholders. We also have citizen science campaign. We have developed and released actually already a European light pollution map, which is pretty unique. It shows more precise, yeah, light pollution in Europe only for now, but hopefully we'll expand in the future. But yeah, this is very briefly. It's a very interesting project which engages more than 50 people. We soon have a meeting, and I love it. I mean, it's amazing. Again, it's unite different people from the different backgrounds. We're working on my passion, which is light pollution. We also have noise aspects, which is also super interesting because it's also kind of noise and light are energy pollutants. So we all about this framing of energy pollutant to reduce Alan. So again, all my work is related to about is all about the same thing, regulatory aspects of light. Anyhow.
Yeah, but like while you're saying all this, I'm sure that people listening to this or like watching this interview are thinking that what can I do? Like this is government's job. This is the job for policymakers. What can these people do who are sitting at home listening to this, watching this? Can you give them like some suggestions how even some small steps that they can take can make like a big difference?
Well, I think there would be a lot of steps. First, we should be aware that night is actually a part of the natural environment. This is an easy thing to understand, but people completely like destroy the presence of the night due different reasons. But maybe first start to be aware that actually night exists. Night is something calm. A lot of people I know enjoy night. They enjoy working at night because it's calmer, it's slowing down. But yeah, it's also the presence of the stars. It's also important for the nature. The second aspect is to think that actually night has a great impact on ourselves, like from the first point, but it also has a great impact on nature because most of the species they're actually nocturnal. So for people who are into environmental, yeah, think about that. For people who are more into like business oriented and don't care a lot about nature, think about the energy efficiency. Actually, we have too much light, which wastes our energy, and it's a waste of a lot of money. So think about that, about a lot of money which are wasted on this artificial light at night can be reused for something better. And the third aspect is more practical. Try to use automatic light detection systems. So don't turn lights in your gardens, but like, yeah, try to reduce the amount of light, make it warmer. It's also cozier, I guess, well, at least for me. Also, try not to have illuminated windows, because you're disturbing your neighbors outside. And also try to look up at night, and maybe that will inspire you to reduce the light in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And like in the description of this video, I will also give some links from where people can find, like with reference images and stuff, what they can do so that they can go back, visit to like these pages and implement some things. But I think, Yana, like there is so much ignorance about this. Like the turtles are getting affected, the birds are getting affected, even us. Like I cannot sleep at night if there is like a big flood light, like right outside the window and I need my curtains and dark. But we are being so ignorant about like other species, as you're saying, or like the crowded orbit problem, the satellite constellations problems also. What makes you like hopeful to gain recognition about the problem of light pollution and like overcoming it, creating enough awareness?
I mean, it's super difficult because you have different groups you have to talk to. It also depends on the cultural background. So I guess you really have to shape the message depending on this cultural background and political background. Again, in Europe, we choose the direction of talking of light pollution within the environmental agenda because it's the easiest way. The policy documents and the legal documents are already in place. So we're basically telling guys, you already have it, but without like reducing light pollution, you will not achieve all these amazing targets you put on. And basically, all the legislation also being ignorant about the nocturnal environment, because if we don't have any norms related to reduction of ALAN, we're basically not protecting half of our nature. So this is the message there. Then you have communities. We know light pollution would be the least important problem. So you have to redevelop the message maybe to the countries which are less developed than the others. We're trying to talk about, guys, look, you are now installing lights, but let's do it in a more efficient way, efficient application way. So not only energy efficiency, but also about the direction, all these type of aspects. The biggest problem is I think public safety, which always the problem when we're communicating about light pollution. So you also have to find the research. We actually need more research. So for everybody who listens to us, if you have an opportunity to research the connection between the amount of artificial light at night and crime, feel free to jump in it. It's super important. So we dig into this a lot. There is a research which basically is saying that there is no correlation between the presence of ALAN and crime, or there's a minimum correlation, or sometimes Alan increases the crime. So there's no agreement on that either. So why we should put it as a marker to increase more lights, right? Um, yeah, there's also inequality aspects. If you go to a richer neighborhood, at least that's the case in Europe, you have minimum amount of light. It's all aesthetically beautiful, and the more public or poorer neighborhood would be extremely illuminated. So there's a lot of different aspects. So I encourage people who are involved in light pollution or dark and quiet skies protection. I will talk about it also later because it's another story. But if you talk about ground-based light pollution, at least try to make people aware that light pollution is a broader problem. Talk about the cultural aspects, environmental aspects, energy efficiency, just beauty of the city. Try to build it up, and then people will hear what message is more like corresponding to them, so they can, and also explain how they can reduce the light on their own. Another aspect is obviously orbital light pollution, and here is a big problem because first people don't care about astronomy anymore as they did care back in the days. The second, the same thing is about space activities. From my practice, I see that none of the European Green Agenda documents actually address space activities and ignoring their presence, which is super weird to me because we're now in a new space race and none of the documents actually mentioned anything about it. But I'm happy we're trying to build up the dialogue. But people, general public, which are the most important people for us to bring the message to, they don't think about satellites. They don't think about, like, they have internet, that's it, right? But they watch Marvel movies about space, but space actually exists, you know? And yeah, we have to start communicating. Like, I'm showing pictures to my friends, like, look, do you know how many satellites in the orbit, like from ESA website? And like, wow, what is this? Like, yeah, guys, we will soon not be able to go to outer space because of this trash and the satellites around it. So we really have to think about it. But if you talk to people and ask, do you want internet or do you want dark sky? The choice would be obvious. So we have to reframe the way we talk to people. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah,
I've been
no, of
talking
course.
too
And
long.
like you touched on like these points that people are, I think, ignorant because they haven't yet gotten like the seriousness of it. Like the rate of like how it's growing right now, the light pollution is scary with the satellite constellations and without these laws and regulations that you are putting forth and bringing up, there would be Earth with like no night sky at all, no dark skies.
Yeah,
It will just be completely lit. And it will take toll on people's psychology also. Forget about all the other species, but just, imagine that your kids won't be able to look at the stars ever. Like, this is giving me goosebumps. Like, I could cry thinking about it. When you go
yeah, me
outside
too.
of the city and you look at the beautiful night skies, it puts you in a perspective, it makes you think how we are
Yeah.
floating on this pale blue dot and how vast the universe is, and it affects psychologically. But yeah, Yana, we have talked about your incredible journey and the amazing work you're doing to protect dark skies. But now let's switch gears a little bit and have a little bit of fun. So I've got a rapid fire round for you. So short questions and quick answers. Ready?
I will try. I will
All
try
right.
to do my best.
The first question. Where was the most beautiful night sky you've ever seen?
It's gonna be La Palma, Canary Islands.
Really, it was better than New Zealand.
Unfortunately, when I was in New Zealand, it was pretty foggy and raining. So, I mean, also in New Zealand, it's different because we're talking about northern and southern Hampshire. So, yeah. But for me, the clearest night and the biggest amount of stars I've ever seen was in La Palma.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
gonna be
me,
that.
it was like New Zealand skies at Lake Tekapo. I like the night that I
Yeah.
visited there, I also saw the Southern Lights and the comet also. So it was really pretty over there. Okay, next question. Which three things would you take with you if you were traveling in space for 10 years?
Oh God. I was always reading these questions, never thought about the answer. Three things. I don't know. I will take the medical kit, survival kit. I will take a book, like encyclopedia about how to make things and a little bit of everything because I mean I have a basic knowledge of things, but not that much. And I have one more thing to take with me. Let me think about it. It can be people. Can it be people? Or only things?
Yeah, it could be people, sure.
Okay, I will take my partner because he knows way more than I do.
So
There's
you
gonna be
would
we're
take
gonna
the other
survive
two things
like that.
also. Your partner will just take care of you. That's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So if we have that book and the medical kit, we're gonna survive. Like I think that's gonna be my answer.
All right, cool. Next question. Which is harder, writing a research paper or convincing someone to turn off a street light?
Well, I think the second one would be the most difficult. Convincing the government to turn off the light is super challenging because you get some dumb arguments which not always working, and sometimes I myself not very patient person, so it's very difficult for me to handle myself into certain framework of like this official discussions because when I get mad, I get mad. But yeah, so for me that is more difficult because when I write research paper by myself or with the others, everything is structured. We all work in the field, so it's super easy and interesting. While that the discussion part is interesting but super challenging. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for like indulging us with these quick insights. Now let's dive back into your vision for the future of space law. And could you tell us like what advice would you give to the people who would be interested in pursuing a career in this field?
In space law, I think that's the best moment for now to pursue career in space sector in general, whatever you're doing. Because again, coming back, we're in a second space race nowadays. The space law is developing in different areas. Like I work for Space Corps Foundation for almost 4 years now. I was shocked actually when I've seen it. But what we're doing, we're analyzing the legal and policy frameworks of different countries. And you can see that it's growing and more countries trying to get involved into this space activities situation. We are lacking from the legal point of view, policy point of view, more legal. We're lacking of the legal frameworks for activities. Not a lot of things are being regulated, especially at the international level. So we will need more and more passionate young professionals and experts interested in this field to help us to build up the future framework so we do not, how to say it in a good way, not ruin everything. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Before it's too late to change anything.
Yeah, and I think people who are looking to choose their careers, who are interested in astronomy, I think it's really important to keep updated with what's going on. Otherwise, like on social media or like through the news, general news that you see, they can be just from one side. And you need like a holistic perspective on everything. You hear some advancements, but you don't understand what are disadvantages of this. And I would like to tell you all that on our website, astronera.org, we are posting the news articles from 50 plus sources that are that will give you good insights into what is going on. On that, you will also understand what are the career options, what you can choose, and which direction to take. But Yana, tell me, if you were in a room full of like policymakers from around the world, what would you like tell
My
them
best
who
best
are
moment.
unfamiliar with light pollution at all? Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I will have my free prepared slides because normally when you talk to policymakers, especially at that level, you will have like 3 minutes. So I will just briefly show the picture of the normal night sky and the city sky and say that, look, guys, what are we doing? There will be no turning point back, and give the definition of light pollution, I guess. Then the second slide I have also prepared already. I've been giving a lot of talks. It's a giant slide with different aspects of light pollution. I will briefly introduce these different impacts, adverse impacts we have, but I will also highlight that light, of course, has a huge benefit for all of us, and I will explain why and how, as well as satellites, right? So orbital and ground-based light pollution. And the third slide would be I will talk about the solutions. I'm as a lawyer, I work in academia as well, and a lot of lawyers thinking about creating new laws or like new policy. What I think we should do, we should use the existing instruments, and this what policymakers and the lawmakers at the government level are more likely to agree on, is to say, guys, you have already environmental law. Let's just expand it to the problem of protection of dark skies. And this conversation will make them do something, actually, rather than say, okay, here's the new law, let's adopt it. Like, new laws, especially at the international level, is going to be adopted in like 30 years when there will be no turning point back. So we have to try to use what we already have to reduce the problem of both orbital and ground-based light pollution. So this is going to be the short elevator speech from me.
If in case any policymaker comes across this video, they'll have the elevator pitch with the whole experience anyway. Well, I
Sure.
think that's like end of this episode, and I want to thank you very much, Yana, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your work reminds us that the night sky is not just a natural wonder, but a shared heritage that we must all protect. Again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. It was pretty dynamic and super interesting. Thank you so much.
To our audience on YouTube and Spotify, if Yana's story has inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Astronera's channels. And let's keep the conversation going. Drop a comment below on what resonated with you the most. And stay tuned for more amazing stories of the people of space shaping our future.